Hello there, YouTube. Today I am going to talk about my favorite system and the system that I think is the best role-playing system, at least as far as I've played, would be Gurps, Generic Universal Role-Playing System, 3rd edition. I know there are a lot of people out there that don't like Gurps. Some people think it's hard to learn, I guess, is the complaint I hear. But from a player point of view or a GM point of view, hands down, I've found it to be absolutely the best system to work with. You only need one set of rules, and you can keep switching from different game world to different game world. I don't need to grab a whole new stack of books if I'm going from space to a fantasy setting. It's all the same rules. I'm aware that there is a 4th edition out there, but I've been playing Gurps long enough that the previous editions, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, are fairly compatible. The 4th edition makes some significant rule changes to character generation and how combat and damage is done. So I've not upgraded to 4th edition, and I don't really have any plans to do so. And since there aren't a lot of video series, or at least I'm aware of, video series on Gurps 3rd edition out there, I thought I'd give Steve Jackson Games a good solid plug. And primarily, my videos are going to be about Gurps and role-playing in general, but the system I deal most with is Gurps because it's my favorite. I'm not going to go into how to make a character and all that, but just talk about the generalities of Gurps. It is, compared to certainly Palladium, it is a much more realistic system. Realistic not just in the fact that if you walk up behind somebody and slit their throat, you will kill them outright, but also in the depth that it allows players to make their character, not just in the combat setting, but if you want your character to be rich or have high social status, be the mayor of a town, or possibly be just be a well-known individual. Maybe they own a lot of property. They own hotels and restaurants in town, so everybody kind of knows, oh yeah, this is Jack's place. Or maybe they are well-known, but maybe they're a slumlord, and the properties they own aren't taken very well. They have a bad reputation. Gurps will allow players that are police officers to actually have that authority in-game by its use of advantages and disadvantages, similar to, say, perks in the Fallout games, and I think White Wolf has their own version of perks and traits and that kind of thing, where you spend points or dots or whatever the system works, and you buy abilities, or you take a disadvantage in the case of Gurps and you get points back. I like the points-based system of Gurps as a player also, because it lets you manage the way you want your character to be. If you have a good character concept, unlike D&D or Palladium or another system where you have to generate your character stats by rolling, you don't have to deal with that randomness. You can get great characters by rolling them, but you can get shitty characters by rolling them too. And also, for people that do not like combat all the time, Gurps' advantages and disadvantages set and skill set is not focused around combat, whereas I feel at least Dungeons and Dragons, I know they have skills, but your whole leveling structure is based off of combat. You get experience for being victorious in combat. One of the things you get after leveling is more hit points. Yes, you get more skill points too, but at least through GMs that I've played under, the skills are always been secondary to combat. So it gives you more variety in gameplay. But and as far as from a GM's point of view, sky's the fucking limit. You can do whatever you want. I've done everything from Fallout to different special ops or special forces campaigns, modern or even World War II. I ran a 1920s kind of high adventure, sort of Indiana Jones meets The Shadow meets The Phantom, and there's a little bit of superstition and unexplainable magic thrown in there for good effect too. And once again, it's all the same rules, so you can just tell your party that, you know, make a character for this setting, and they don't need to go drag out a new book. They don't need to relearn a new system. If they come to you as a GM with an idea that they would like to play as a party, you already have a set of rules and a framework within that you can play, and it lets you fit for any game style as well. If you really do want it to be more of fast-paced combat all the time, the system is quite capable of handling that. If you never want to have combat, this system is quite capable of that too. If you want it to be very realistic, where consequences reflect the way they would in the real world with crime or with any sort of physical injury, getting arms and legs broken in a car accident, for instance, rather than the most common way you get hurt in a role-playing game, which is combat. Or you can make it more unrealistic, as the book terms it, cinematic, and I like this word because it really fits the theatrical, cinematic movie feel that an over-the-top campaign tends to have, and the unrealistic campaigns tend to have. It would allow you to make the sort of character that will wade through mountains of goons and hails of bullets just to get to the chief bad guy or whatever. It'll let you make Superman. It will let you make the characters from Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, there are a lot of points. They're a very high point character, but you can do, once again, like I said, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever. And the fact that it has rules for both magic and psychics, it allows you to put either or if you're favorable to having both in a campaign. I particularly do not. I don't think they should ever be mixed, magic and psychics. But the rule system allows for magic and psychic. So if you did want the traditional high fantasy world, my high fantasy campaign that I run has your typical elves and dwarves and orcs and that sort of thing, and I do allow magic in it, but I also have adapted, because Gurps lets me do what I can't do in D&D. I've adapted black powder weapons and clockwork and steam technology into my traditional fantasy setting, so the players have familiarity with the traditional fantasy setting, but it's not the same old fantasy setting, and for the most part I've found that they enjoy that. Something familiar, yet something fresh and new, and Gurps lets me add the fresh and new, whereas other gaming systems that come with their own flesh and blood world, a lot of people will find deviating from the flesh and blood world to be uncomfortable for them, because they'll buy the book and they'll read the book and they'll think this is cool, and then you change with what little they know. Whereas if you take what little they know and you add a little something extra, it's a lot more palatable to most players. I know, yeah, not everybody likes Gurps, but leave your comments, leave your video responses with, do you like Gurps? Are you 3rd edition, 4th edition, or can you not stand it? What's your favorite system? Look forward to hearing from you.